Well, the Cobbles are back for this year's Tour de France in Stage 4. Richard, talk us through the sectors.
Well, we've got 7 sectors in this year's Tour, totalling 13.3 kilometres, so kind of similar to what we saw in last year's Tour. But they are very different. Then some of them are used in Paris-Roubaix, some of them are new, just used for the Tour de France. The Tour's course director, Thierry Gouvenou, described them as less technical but more physical. They kind of go up and down a few more hills, perhaps less of churning it through the puddles, through the rain and the grime and somersaulting into a hedge, like we saw last year. But it's going to be a real test, just the same as it was last year. I think it's one of those stages that a lot of people are going to be really dreading right at the bottom of their stomach. It's a 223 kilometre stage, so it's a really long day out on the bike. They're starting really early in the morning, they're not finishing until about 5 in the afternoon. There's going to be some very tired bodies at the end of that stage and potentially a big shake-up in the GC.
And Nick, obviously the Cobbles mean unpredictable conditions, don't they?
Well, indeed, as we saw last year when Hutch and I watched the stage from a turnip field in the pouring rain and got covered by mud when Nico Roche went past. Anything can happen. I think last year's stage was one of those ones that will be remembered by cycling fans for years to come.
It felt like something out of another age. It felt like watching the Tour de France in 1923. These mud-strewn riders coming through the fog. I was almost expecting
Bernardino to come past on his bike in the front group with Nibali.
It was just extraordinary.
It was brilliant.
Nibali turned up. Nibali looked like he was riding sort of 2 or 3 inches above the Cobbles. He just was smooth, relaxed. He looked like he'd been doing it his whole life.
I think mentally that's a big advantage for him going into that stage this year. You know, we don't know how Froome will go on the Cobbles. Last year he crashed out before he even got to them, so that's a complete unknown. Contador didn't really look that great. He struggled. He lost a good couple of minutes to Nibali. And Quintana's the complete wild card. I mean, how's Quintana going to get on? I know he rode some of the Belgian semi-classics earlier in the year.
He's been talking a good game about the Cobbles, certainly, but on the other hand,
can all do that,
he's a Colombian climber, and they're not notorious for their ability to ride across cobbles.
That's a very good point. Now, the most experience I've had on the Cobbles is possibly riding around Covent Garden once or twice. Talk us through, the methods you use on the bike to stay relaxed and getting through those cobbled stages.
Well, different people want to do it different ways. Some people want to ride on the crown of the road where it's sort of flatter but rougher, and the idea is you kind of keep just loose and relaxed and just let the bike find its way across the crown of the road. Other riders are going to want to try and get right into the ditches where you can maybe just about get off the cobbles altogether and ride on the dirt. But in the end, there are cobbles, there are going to be big holes, there are going to be puddles. If it's rainy, you see a puddle, you don't know if is there a hole, is there a cobble missing, or is it just a little puddle, or what? It's really, really tough. It's unpredictable, and that's even before you get to punctures, mechanicals, crashes of other people's invention that you ride into. It's going to be a heck of a day.
And of course, you spent a lot of time interviewing riders behind the scenes. On a day like today, what's going to be going through the riders' minds?
I think fear potentially is going to be one of the things. They're going to wake up in the morning, potentially draw the curtains, look at the rain pelting down outside and think, oh, I'm not looking forward to today. Just hoping that they make it through in one piece with any losses minimised and hopefully staying with the front runners. There are 1 or 2 riders who love these sort of conditions. I mean, cobbles are like Marmite. You love them or you hate them as a bike rider. A lot of people hate them, but there are 1 or 2, Fabian Cancellara being the obvious example. Last year's stage winner on the Cobbles, Lars Bohm, is probably going to be riding again this year.
Geraint Thomas's first kind of hurrah in the Tour de France, really. The first time he really showed in the Tour was wasn't it 2010?
2010
Tour, it was.
The Cobbles, he was just a few seconds away from actually getting the yellow jersey, and it was his big announcement onto the world stage.
So really, there'll be 1 or 2 people like that, so.
Yeah, I think it's got a really interesting dynamic to it. It's not like Paris-Roubaix. There are fewer cobble sectors, and the peloton itself is made up of all sorts of different riders. So it adds a real level of unpredictability to it. You're going to have some riders who could go and win the stage, but they're probably going to have to look after their team leaders. So Geraint could, be in there in the mix, as we might say, to go and win the stage, but he's probably going to have to look after Chris Froome. Same with Ian Stannard if he rides. Fabian Cancellara in 2010 had to look after Andy Schleck, who was hiding away in his wheel and somehow managed to stay up there.
That's the thing, Andy Schleck that day got in the front group, which is something I don't think anyone would have predicted in advance. So if Geraint has a good day, potentially that could mean it's a good day for Chris Froome, because if he can weasel in Geraint's wheel over the 7 sectors, then who knows, he could easily put some time, or he can maybe match Nibali if Nibali again flies over the cobbles.
Well, as we've heard, anything can happen and could happen. Join the conversation on Twitter using the handle @CyclingWeekly. Let us know your predictions for the Cobbles and join us next time as we talk about the key contenders.